Hello, everyone. I'm Barbara Humpton, CEO of Siemens USA, and you're listening to the Optimistic Outlook podcast. This episode centers around an inspiring local story that's applicable everywhere. It's all happening at our manufacturing plant in Wendell, North Carolina, and with our Raleigh area partners. As we were preparing for this episode, we thought to ourselves, this conversation could be eye-opening for listeners. Some of the trends we uncover might surprise you. By introducing you today to my colleague, Brian Dula, you'll see how the manufacturing sector can do more than produce the technology driving electrification in our infrastructure. Manufacturing teams can also lead the way in deploying clean tech. If the term industrial microgrid is abstract to you now, it won't be by the end of the episode. Which leads us to the challenge, the workforce. This growth in American manufacturing, the rise of an industrial tech sector, can only happen as quickly as the workforce behind it. Brian will highlight the career opportunities and the partnerships he's leveraging. A bit more about Brian. He's the president of the Electrification and Automation business at Siemens Smart Infrastructure in the U.S. He's been front and center at our Wendell plant as Siemens has invested $36 million in renovations and upgrades there, and this is to meet the rising demand for electrification across critical infrastructure markets. All right, take a listen. Brian Dula, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Give us a little bit of insight into your own background. What'd you study in college?
Yeah, I was engineering background, some industrial and electrical, started in operations. And I think my time at Siemens, I've pretty much been in just about every kind of job that we could think of in power distribution. I learned a lot from the way of doing things in the beginning, which was pretty traditional for many, many years, and has definitely changed rapidly in the last 7 or 8 years.
When you started your career, was the concept of an industrial microgrid something you'd ever heard of or even considered? And what surprised you about this technology as you learned more about it?
Absolutely not. When I started my career, it really wasn't on the radar. You know, you brought the utility power into the facility, you used consumption, you may have some backup power, but you really didn't think about the concept of an actual microgrid and how you would have your own really local infrastructure and create the flexibility and reliability that a microgrid can offer, which make a huge difference in improving sustainability, keeping your operations running no matter what is thrown at you from a day-to-day event standpoint, driving your costs down and really just being able to control your own destiny.
Well, let's get into the microgrid and help our listeners understand how a microgrid works and what is it? How does it enable operations to be more sustainable and resilient?
Well, you know, having a microgrid is like having your own mini power plant that can generate, store, and manage electricity right where you need it. Instead of relying only on the main power grid like we have traditionally, a microgrid uses different energy sources. It could be solar panels, batteries, backup generators, different types of on-site generation. For us at Siemens, this is a means of way we can produce our own clean energy. We can store it when we need it, stay up and running if we have an event or a power outage. It helps us be more sustainable by using renewable energy and offsetting our costs and reduce our environmental impact at the same time.
So do I understand right? The source of power you're using is solar.
In this case, our microgrid, we're using solar generated power with a photovoltaic parking lot canopy. So we have some nice covered parking for our employees while we're generating power, and we have a storage system and backup power in our microgrid.
Yeah, and how much of that overall microgrid is actually Siemens components? I don't think we make everything in there, right?
Not everything, but a large portion of it. We definitely produce in-house all of the distribution equipment, the transfer switches, the inverters that take the power from the panels and convert those into usable energy. The controls is a big factor. So the overall brains of the system, if you will, in terms of how everything works, are components that we produce in Siemens. And we do the service and the installation and a lot of the coordination.
I think our listeners know Siemens was among the first industrial companies to commit to net zero operations by 2030. And we want to get there by validating the same technology that we're offering to customers. And so your microgrid is a big step forward in this. What is it that makes this the right moment to commit to deploying a microgrid?
With data centers coming online and really using significantly more power in the U.S., to support the AI revolution. And our utilities really struggling in some cases to keep up with that demand on how they can produce enough power to meet the needs in the area. Having on-site generation and having the ability to support different fluctuations with the utility grid, it's the exact right time with those challenges for us to demonstrate the technology ourselves as Siemens of how we can help support that revolution. But bring it online to support surge in demand that's out there today. Basically, we're going to be able to be one of the first pilots and one of the first locations in the U.S. With manufacturing to head towards that net zero goal.
I'm hearing from a lot of utilities, there's real concern about whether they can generate enough power to meet the need. I mean, as you say, data centers coming in, manufacturers demanding more and more. In your case, are you behind the meter or are you actually connected to the grid? Could you sell electricity back if you wanted to?
We can't. We are connected. We're behind the meter and we will get an energy savings. And of course, we're using and consuming most of the power. It's really one of the things with utilities is they're also learning themselves how these microgrids are going to make a difference in terms of how they utilize them in their network. This will actually be the largest industrial microgrid in Duke Energy's network. It's a learning process right now with the utilities and large industrials for this type of technology. We're starting those conversations with the large utilities and executives on how we can help partner with them and solve those challenges.
I want to make sure we inspire other industrial leaders to take the opportunity to make their operations more sustainable and more resilient, and as a result, more profitable. So what's your advice to people hearing this, and how can they bring clean tech into their own operations?
Sustainability is not always for free when you make the commitment and you need to make the investment, but at the end of the day, it pays off in the long run in terms of the investment into business, and so it's going to be profitable. And then when you look at those long-term costs, it's not a short-term view that we look at, but we want to take and make the operation more efficient. And, recruiting the right people, creating an environment where people want to be part of a sustainable company. And from a cost perspective, the new technology is making it equal to the old, right? And so you can really do it at very cost-effective these days. And if you follow good core principles like we're teaching in our sustainability classes, you can implement these things and be part of the solution.
Let's talk a little bit more about the market dynamics. One thing we're always talking about is how the future is electric. How's your team thinking about the market going forward? How are you thinking about driving growth and the investments that you're making in Wendell?
I mean, I think from our side, it's absolutely the move towards electrification is happening, right? Whether it's a surge or how many EV vehicles are sold in a particular year or that's going to go up and down. But the cumulative effect of the move towards electrification and the impact on the load in the U.S. in particular is definitely there. And we see that trend, and it's going to be in front of us for the next 4 to 5 years, next decade. And so our team's really trying to set up to be as agile as we can and support those needs and flexible. And so at the end of the day, they're using electricity. They need to have a flexible way to do it. They need to have a smart network. You need to be able to have the needs to adjust. The example for a data center customer today where they need to get commitments from utilities to basically meet certain power requirements. Many of those contracts that they're signing up through utilities, they have to be able to generate their own electricity in a certain times of the day or in peak times or maybe when electricity is not available. And they have to do what's called demand response commitments where, they may have to sign up for 30 or 40 or 50% own generation at any given time. And so if they have to do that, they need possibly a microgrid to do it. They need a smart way to do it. Their data center has to continually run. They have to have 100% uptime. And so the technology and a lot of the controls technology that we're releasing and the solutions like we can be able to demonstrate here in Wendell can meet those number of needs in a number of ways. We're agnostic on what that generation comes from. Maybe it's micronuclear, maybe it's solar, maybe it's hydrogen in the future. There's various options on how they can generate that electricity. And customers can help solve their own problems while partnering with utilities in a safe way to do it.
So we've got the technology, right? We're working on this new world that's actually being built right now. And the big question is, do we have the workforce needed to drive this forward? How has your own workforce responded to this period of transformation?
I've been really proud of the team and how they responded. Our workforce transformation has been at the heart of our success because really we can make investments, we can add facilities. At the end of the day, you got to have the people to make it work. We've created hundreds of new jobs just in the last 2 years with a significant growth in the business. But not only just creating jobs and bringing people in, that's part of the investment we're also making in our location in Wendell, is we rolled out a new Power Academy, or basically instructor-led, customer-specific training to really educate the workforce on these new technologies, new trends, and make it exciting. When you think about traditional power distribution and plugging in gray boxes left and right, might not be in the most exciting area to recruit new top talent. But when you really talk about those individuals transforming tomorrow in terms of being able to enable these things that are changing our everyday lives. They all require electrons, they all require electricity, they require a smart way to handle it. And we're really starting to see the recruitment of the new talent coming in, embrace that. And our Power Academy, our workforce transformation programs, our apprenticeship programs, our partnerships with NC State locally, Wake Tech in the area for entry-level programs to show the old way and the new way how to do things. How do we take care of the old, but how do we really look to the future, because utility substations and downstream are going to change dramatically over the next 5 years.
Well, let's talk about that, because this is a new tech sector. I mean, in the past, people might have thought of this as big industrial, and they might have thought, hey, that's not what my mom and dad want me to pursue as my career. What are the biggest misconceptions students and early career professionals have about entering the sector? And what ways have you found to bust the myths?
It's been a kind of a classical industry or utility type industry that really didn't see a lot of change over many decades, and people didn't get as excited about this type of field. But what we found is creating a customer experience center where we can bring students in, or we get entry-level discussions around getting a visual on what this technology can mean and the different ways you can innovate and really come up with new ideas that can be implemented almost immediately. And you can map what we're doing really directly to some of the top trends and the most innovative minds, whether it's new automotive manufacturing techniques, whether it's a way to make, chips that go into semiconductors, or whether we're fueling data centers, or whether you're talking about microgrids and power disruption. Engineers get pretty excited about how they can innovate and make a difference. And I see us as being on the forefront of that in terms of marketing that to new students.
Well, tell me about your ideal candidate when you're looking for talent to bring into the organization. What are you looking for?
First thing is really the passion and the ambition and the drive to learn and really be part of a team that's trying to build something bigger. So the technical skills and the background need to match up, but a lot of these things can be learned over time. And of course, you want to have a demonstrated a background that shows you're a problem solver, you're an innovator, you've got the drive and energy to make it happen, because all of our problems are not solved by one, they're usually solved by many, and we have a real team to make that happen.
Brian, if there is a potential candidate listening to this who might think, well, I don't know if I have the right background to apply for opportunities at Wendell or launch a career in this industry, what's your message to them?
I would encourage any background that has the qualities around drive and ambition and passion. And when I look at employees that come in with super high technical backgrounds and masters and PhDs in certain technical fields, those are very important, and we need those in certain areas of our business. That's really critical. And there's other places in the business where you just need to have the right passion and communication skills, good organization skills, project management. And there's so many success stories where we've had employees come from different fields, whether they worked in, customer service, maybe in a retail business, or they worked in, a hands-on mechanical assembly, and they're wanting to learn something new. We have the ability to train. We have the ability to put them in the right position. And employees that have that right it factor, they're able to chart that path and find a way. And I think that's one of the things I love about Siemens in my 26 years is the ability to figure out your own path. If you're willing to make the investment in yourself, work with others and do that, you can usually find a good way forward that fits your skill set and enables you to really make a difference.
Brian, it's one thing for a candidate to have that desire, but the other thing that it takes is a management team that is willing to give people a shot.
Absolutely.
And I've been so thrilled to see the team you've built. I've seen people who've come from many different backgrounds. I've seen high school students. I've seen veterans who are transitioning into the private sector. I've seen people who've actually, like you or me, started years ago in one area and have migrated into this wonderful world of electrical infrastructure. I guess I'm really encouraged by the fact that there are a lot of paths in, and I'm especially excited about your Power Academy. By the way, if I wanted to take the Power Academy, how much time commitment do I have to make?
It could be little or many. And so that's the great thing about it. We have short courses where we're already marketing those online, and you can take, one topic and really learn about that topic, or you can make a multi-week commitment and really work on a longer term plan. So we have courses for novice to say, hey, I want to get exposed to it. I want to learn about it, or I may want to become an expert in the microgrid field. And we want to have an in-depth protection and automation class. And we have hands-on training that can really help people come up to speed. So we have a new employee, that's coming in today. We're investing heavily in customized training programs where they can do on-the-job work, learn as they go, get some classroom training, take it out and apply it in the field, and really help speed up the progress where students and new employees can figure out a path where they want to go in the future.
If you take a cue from the tech sector, what you see is a whole lot of widely available segments so that people can chart their own journey as they learn about the technology of tomorrow. Industrial tech is very much entering that same space. If we're able to successfully scale electrification and workforce development initiatives, how is this going to positively impact our future?
Well, I think if we're able to scale it, we're absolutely going to create an environment where electrification is at the heart of transforming our business economy, whether it's in industry, transportation, AI, data centers, utilities, in a way that positively impacts our environment, where we can be more sustainable, more efficient, more resilient. But at the same time, we're also going to grow a workforce that's more agile. They're able to meet the new challenges of tomorrow. And I'm excited about what that vision looks like for us in the future, where we have a world that relies on electrification to meet those challenges of tomorrow. And we're at the heart of how to solve them, both with our technology and with our people.
Thanks for your leadership. Thanks for being on the podcast.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Please go now to our show notes for resources related to what we discussed in Wendell. You'll also find a link there to my LinkedIn page. Head over there to leave a comment about the episode. Lastly, I hope you listen again in 2 weeks when we release an episode that builds off the workforce challenge tackled here today. I'm going to talk to Scott Rawls, president of Wake Tech, North Carolina's largest community college. You heard Brian reference his partnership with Wake Tech. Scott will shed even more light on this crucial question of how we build a skilled technical workforce to drive the resurgence of American manufacturing. Talk to you soon.
Please follow us on social media and on your favorite podcasting platform. Thank you for tuning in.